Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen, coinaholics of all ages? Welcome back to another edition of the Pocket Change Market Report, dropping on your Saturday afternoon as we go and hunt out some pretty nice errors and varieties. You got that right. As we always do when you are in the hobby, you're always looking for the great stuff. And, whether you're a coin roll hunter or you like to go to a coin shop or maybe perhaps check the local show scene, finding some errors and varieties where you could cherry pick them, for that nominal rate, as if, there was no variety or error to be found on there, can be a pretty good feeling. All right. And it doesn't matter if you paid $2 for a coin and the variety makes it $10. That's all gravy, right? There are a few ways to, I guess sell them. eBay definitely the #1 hotspot. Only because, you have your biggest audience on eBay. So it gives you more kind of eyes on your coins. And generally you want to try and sell coins that are worth, somewhere in that $5, $10 and up range. When you get into the incredibly expensive stuff that's like $500 or above. Sometimes you might want to consider sending those off to the graders, like a PCGS or NGC. But for all the other inexpensive coins, you could just really sell it, make your money and run, and then go on to the next thing. I know a lot of people fuel their set building, or maybe they collect something specific, and instead of keeping these coins that they do find, they sell them. Take the money that they've assembled and amassed to that point and, buy that one really big kind of centerpiece coin. All right. And that's the big idea. And usually the low dollar stuff, again, you don't want to send it off to the graders. By the time you end up spending the $30 to $40 to send out the one singular coin, the coins will still be worth exactly as you would expect, as if it was raw. So it wouldn't make any sense. You're going to end up wasting money there. All right, so all the coins, again, are raw. If this is your first time here, we just show just raw coins sold within the last 24 to 48 hours. There are no graded coins generally on these reports because, again, the big idea is just to flip it as soon as you find it, especially if it doesn't fit into your collection. So I'd say without further ado, we have a pretty big list for today to help you get started for the weekend and for the upcoming week. We got actually 36 coins, and we're going to start off with a 1999 Lincoln Memorial cent. This one is off-center by about 30%. It does feature a full date, so just to let you guys know, the collectability of off-center struck coins revolves a great deal around whether or not you could read a date on there, and mint mark, because they're both relevant to the collectors of this particular era. This one sold for $16.98. Pretty solid deal, and like I've mentioned in previous PCMR videos, 1999, 2000, and 2001 seem to be the three most common modern era dates for off-center struck coins. The U.S. Mint probably just screwed up a lot during this 3-year stint. But it's all good because as collectors and hunters, we enjoy stuff like this. All right, the next one that we have here, this is a pretty difficult coin to image. We have a 1972 D Kennedy half dollar with a rotated reverse die by about 200 degrees clockwise. It's pretty insane just how rotated the reverse die is. The good news is this particular seller has a 14-day return policy. So let's say, the buyer of this coin receives it and it's nothing like it's described, then that person can send it back for a full refund. Good seller here. And, rotated die errors are not necessarily rare, but when you get to a rotation quite like this, where if you did a coin turn on your coin that you suspect has rotated die, and that puppy is still flipped upside down, then you have something really good. Through 3 bits, this one sold for $99. That's a lot of money, and yes, they do get that expensive. Rotated die errors, I would say is probably one of the most overlooked errors. Only because of the amount of labor that's involved with flipping each coin, you know, as they're going through them. I know it can be a little bit tedious, but trust me, when you find that first rotated die, whether it's like a 45 degree, 90 degree, 135, 180, 200 in this case, man, they are all incredibly valuable, and they can be found in coins, you know, all the way up to the new stuff. So keep that in mind. If you have the extra time to just flip the coin over to make sure that you're not missing a valuable rotated die, then that would be optimal. All right, the next one that we have here is a really nice example of a 1955S Lincoln wheat cent. The seller had mentioned that this was a cud, but in reality, we do have just an incredible amount of die chips in the wheat stocks, actually on both of them. 55S always seems to be the more common date for these die chips, in addition to retained die breaks and actual cuts, especially on the reverse. They just kind of grow on trees. This particular example, through 5 bids, sold for $11.50. All right, we got more candy half-dollar love, this time a 1964D. You guys know that this is a 90% composition coin. All right, so definitely check out your 90% junk silver for this. 1964D is a great date of candy half dollars to find all sorts of varieties. There's doubled dies, there's I think even a triple die obverse, which is what I believe this one is, along with a few repunch mint marks. So this is 64D is a literal gold mine of possibilities. This one indeed is a multi-doubled coin, as you can see here, and it looks like it's a TDO, just based off of the TR and U in trust. It's a phenomenal coin under, you know, premier magnification. Not quite like this, but let's say if you had a 8 to 10 times power magnifier, which that should be a tool in everybody's arsenal. If you don't have one, you cannot effectively look at errors and varieties. But under that kind of magnification, you know, this is something that'll pop, no doubt about it. It sticks out like a sore thumb, I can tell you. This one right here sold for $22.95, which is about 3 times silver melt value. So if you think just holding on to the coin because it's junk silver to you is more valuable, you know, in the grand scheme of things, then you know you're really leaving a lot on the table. Make sure you check your silver. There's tons of varieties in every denomination and date. All right, so here's a coin right here, pretty neat. 1960 Philadelphia Jefferson Nickel. As you can see, this one has 2 little curved clips. One right there near the 12 o'clock position, and another one at 5 o'clock. All right, so this is a no-doubter. Really good error to look for. You know, they're all worth a few bucks at the end of the day. There are people that collect these by the number of clips and date. All right, so definitely worthwhile holding on to and then selling if you don't need it in your collection. This one right here is sold for $10, so that's not bad. That's a nice little return on this one. All right, so we're featuring a really cool strike through on the brand new 2021 Tuskegee Airmen America the Beautiful Quarters. Now, of course, this is the last and final ATB design. Consider it, you know, come and gone, because we're already on to the next unique quarter, I guess. But this one right here features a little bit of the feeder finger lines right here, these parallel striations that you see here, which is going to be right on the shoulder of this gentleman right here. And this is what has been floating around on the internet as being the either the burning tower or the smoking window variant, which in reality it's just a strike through of, you know, just grease and debris in just the right spot. I tell you what, these kind of like fringy, you know, type of strike throughs where they're in a specific spot on the coin, people see a lot of value in these. Like, this coin commemorates the Tuskegee Airmen as they flew their missions during World War II. And, you know, when you see something like this, it's like, oh, you know, someone shot the tower and then now there's smoke billowing out of it. It's a really cool effect. But, you know, in any event, again, all sorts of different strike-throughs and feeder finger stuff are coming through, and even the brand new 2021 coins. Do not overlook these. I mean, get a load of this. This coin sold for $153.98. Not saying that that's what it's worth, but I think a lot of the value and I guess the promotion of the coin revolves around that cool strike through on the building and giving it that affectionate namesake of a burning tower. I think is just ingenious. And, you know, again, it's like finding the Cheetos that's shaped like Elvis. I mean, you know, why do people spend a lot of money on that? And it's the same. This is like right along the same lines as what you would expect for something kind of crazy like this. So great job. I mean, $150, that's a lot of money. As more begin to kind of come out of the woodwork, I think prices will go down and they will drop hard and fast. So definitely keep an eye out for these. Really cool error. 2001 Lincoln Memorial Penny. All right, so we got another off-center coin with a full date here. This one's about 30% off-center, maybe like 25, 30, somewhere around there. This one's in pretty decent shape. Again, another common date for this type of error. Through 16 bids, this one sold for $17. Pretty nice. All right, so here's a coin that has kind of been in numismatic history since its release. This is a 1955 Lincoln wheat cent that features the well-known poor man's double die, I guess. I remember seeing a old newspaper ad from like the 60s where a dealer was actually looking for the poor man's double die, and he was paying something like $5 a piece or something like that. Now, considering it's like the early 60s, that's a lot of money. I mean, if you take that and translated it into today's money, you might as well say, yeah, I'll give you a $100 bill for every one that you find in mint-state condition. It's pretty crazy. Even to this day, you know, people seem to endear themselves with the poor man's double die, which is just simply die deterioration. All right, so the dies were pretty well worn at this point. You could see kind of like that halo effect of that last five. This coin sold for $12.99. So there is that. People are still paying for these, which is insane. But they've been paying, you know, pretty strong money for this coin for decades. So I guess nothing's really going to change. It's just a neat novelty, you know, for those folks. All right, so our first piece of currency is this 1977 $20 Federal Reserve note. As you can see, it's got three distinguishable gutter folds. Okay, you got one here right through states. You got this much larger, very noticeable one right here, and another thinner one that goes all the way through the paper. But you know, gutter folds are caused when the sheet, before any sort of printing occurs, has these wrinkles. So if the wrinkles aren't stretched out, you know, on there, the BEP press operator will just go ahead and print right over those. You know, and sometimes you can't really, you know if there's wrinkles in the sheet unless you inspected every sheet. It does occur. You see them a lot less in today's newer currency, but some of the older ones, like prior to the year like 2003, gutter folds do exist and they show up. What's really cool is by the time you stretch out the paper after all the printing's done, you'll have omission of print, obviously, but it really changes the overall shape of the note. All right, you can see it's kind of like bowed right here, and that's because of the wrinkles coming undone. The reverse of the note actually is a lot more defining, very striking. Tons of eye appeal with this particular error. This one, through 18 bids, sold for $98.96. Just a really cool currency error. All right, so the pictures did just enough for the sale. You know, it's a 1944 Lincoln wheat cent, not in the greatest of shapes, but you can tell there is two clips on this one, And that's really what matters. Little word of advice: if you're going to image coins that are brown, do not put it against a brown background, because it's just going to wash out all of the images as you photograph them. It's just not good, and it plays tricks with the cameras focusing and white balance and all that great stuff. So as you can see, this is kind of like the end result here. But anyways, this is a coin that sold for $11.80. 2 clips on there. All right, so here's a little bit tougher off-center struck Lincoln Memorial Cent. This time it's a 1988. It's about 20-25% off-center. It's in pretty decent shape. Of course, this is a copper-coated zinc, so you do have exposed zinc in certain areas on the coin, you know. This particular example, through 10 bids, sold for $28. So when you get into the 80s with a full date, and hopefully mid-mark if that applies, these coins just generally command a lot better money compared to the 99 to 2001 dates. There's just no comparison. Again, people are looking for these coins to collect by date, as long as it does have a full date on there. All right, so we got a neat little 4-coin lot of curved clip coins. So we got one Jefferson Nickel, looks like a 70S or a D. We have a Roosevelt Dime, looks like a 65, and 2 Lincoln Cents. They both look like 64Ds. You know, I always tell people, keep an eye out for these like lots of error coins. Sometimes people decide that they don't want to just list, you know, coins on a singular basis, so they'll just sell a whole lot of them, you know, as long as the pictures are decent. And, you know, they'll just be done with it. But it's also an opportunity for someone else that wants to take these and sell them as singular coins. Now, for this particular instance, it sold for $18. If you divide that by 4, I mean, you're looking at, what, $4.50 per coin. You would most certainly need to at least double up before shipping in order for this to be worthwhile. So those are the kind of numbers you have to play in your head if you want to jump into lots like this. This one's close. I probably would have stayed away for something like this, only because coins with one singular curved clip doesn't command nearly the market as like a 2-clip or 3-clip coin. Currency piece number 2, we have a 2013 $1 Fed Reserve note. Check out that serial number. This one has a 3-digit low serial. It's what we call a fancy serial number. And anytime you're able to find one of the, you know, classified fancy serial number pattern types, you know, collectors love them. This case, anything with, you know, like a 999 and less, I would say, are some of the most valuable low serial number notes. This particular coin, this particular note right here, I got all tripped up. Through 14 bids, you're never going to believe this, sold for $27.45. You know, imagine finding like a whole strap of these, you know, which is like $100 face. And the serial numbers are all 3 digits. I mean, that's going to be very, very valuable strap of notes. You know, you can probably sell something like that for around $2,000. I think the last one I saw that featured all low serial numbers, I think had a run from I think it was like 501 all the way up to 600 or something like that. That ended up selling for a little bit over $2,000, and it's a fresh BEP strap. I mean, that's how you're gonna find these puppies. But even in low condition, they are worth quite a bit of money as well. All right, so this is probably one of the most unique coins on the list this week. We have a 1980 Canadian penny. This one was actually struck on an elliptical clip planchet. Just really cool. I mean, you know, when you think clipped planchet, you don't think of something that looks like a football, which is what this coin looks like. But, you know, Canadian coin errors of any type, they are highly desired because you just don't see them that often. This one right here is sold for $295. Pretty nice. All right, Roosevelt Dime time. This time it's another off-center struck coin with no date. All right, so how does that affect price? Well, first and foremost, it's struck off-center by about 60%. This one sold for $25. Buy it now. So there you go. So Roosevelt Dimes, you don't see nearly as many off-center struck errors as you do on Lincoln Cents or Jefferson Nickels. So that's why there's a little bit more of a premium for even coins without a full date. Okay, so this is a really nice condition 70D Washington Quarter with a right good size curved clip. All right, so this one has a really, really nice sized clip. Sold for $18.97. Condition plays a huge part in these, even with the error. 1998, Philadelphia struck Washington Quarter. All right, so this thing looks a little funny, and with good reason. It's broad struck. All right, broad struck coins were minted without the aid of a collar to keep the coin in its position during the strike. So the metal flow has to go somewhere, and this coin is probably a little bit bigger than your standard sized Washington Quarter, which happens. But this one is just in tremendous shape, for its age. I mean, it's not particularly old, but this one was probably found toward the beginning when these things were first released into circulation. This one right here, a best offer was accepted. The original asking price was $24.95. All right, so if you're like me and you like to hunt through wheat cents, all right, I go through many thousands on a monthly basis. I don't know why, but probably to look for stuff like this. 1958D, the coin in question is not particularly high grade. It would actually, the carbon spotting in certain areas on the coin would probably turn off most collectors. But it's a really cool repunch mint mark. So this RPM right here, the secondary D is punched south of the primary D. I believe this might even be a triple. D over D over D. I think the primary D might also be a little bit tilted. It looks like it. You could see that notch right there. But this one's really cool. I mean, 58 is the final year of the wheat cent series, and there are a number of really, really spectacular RPMs in the 50s. This one right here is sold for $9.94. And given the overall condition of the coin, I'd say that's pretty fair. Now, I don't really get to talk about this error, but we have a relatively unique coin here. This is actually a 1982 Lincoln that was struck over an already produced, I would venture to guess, 1982 Roosevelt Dime. So this is what they call a double denomination error. It's where you could see both denomination design details on the coin. This one is just spectacular. As far as what we call 11-cent errors go, this is a tough date. It's a 1982 large date. You can just see that right there, plain as day. As far as double denomination coins go, you normally see them on 1996. That's a very common date for the Lincoln over Roosevelt Dime double denoms. This one right here, as you would guess, sold for a hefty amount of money. I don't know if it's gradable. I can't really tell with these pictures. I hope it's not cleaned. But through 14 bids, 800 bones. $800 for this thing. Yes, it's worth every penny and dime in this particular case. This will probably end up in a graded holder someday. I'm just really surprised it's not in one right now. All right, so this is a 1990 something. Probably a 1999 Lincoln Memorial Cent. As you can see, a lot of weakness on the offers, so that can only mean one thing. This thing was struck through some grease. So the obverse hammer die had a nice little amount of grease on there to help lubricate things. And when it's struck through onto a coin, you do miss a lot of the details. All right, so the part of the date, you can see a little weakness here at the bottom of the bust going through Liberty, and then in the motto, "In God We Trust." Again, keep an eye out for these. They're worth some money. This one sold for $10.70, proving once again that even some of the most, smallest or lightest of errors are still desirable. Another tough Lincoln Memorial Cent off-center struck coin, this time in 1983. This one right here is in pretty decent shape, but man, you could see a lot of exposed zinc on here. So storage is going to be paramount for a coin like this. Make sure it's not as, make sure the moisture content of wherever you store coins like this is to the minimum, because if not, it's going to start corroding away at that zinc. Let's see, 60% off center, give or take. Maybe it's like 50, 55. This one sold for $12.50. Now here's another two coin lot, two Roosevelt dimes. The first one is the 1974 D Roosevelt Dime. That's double struck. You can see the other secondary strike right there. No frills. I mean, there's no date or any other design details on there. And then we have a 1960s clad dime right here that has a singular curved clip. So, nothing fancy here. Just two kind of like, I would say, relatively minor type errors for each respective error type. Given that the double struck Roosevelt dime doesn't have any like design stuff on that second piece, it's kind of like a downer. It doesn't quite perk up the error coin market, or its buyers. So because of that, this one sold for $28.49. A lot of that value is around this coin right here. Another Roosevelt dime, and this is a good one. All right, so I wanna hear from you guys. How many of you know about this particular error? All right, it's a 1982 Roosevelt dime. It looks like any other dime except for one thing. It is missing something very important. You got that right. No mint mark. In 1982, the Roosevelt dimes most certainly had a physical P mint mark. So what gives? Well, let's just say there were a number of 1982 Roosevelts that ended up getting released from the mint without any mint mark. For, however that happens. Clogged die, a blatant omission of the mint mark from the working dies. I don't know, but there are what they call a strong and a weak version of the missing mint mark 1982s. This one is strong because everything is well struck on the obverse. Pretty cool coin. You usually see these graded, and if you look in your red book or cherry picker's guide, this one is in there. This one sold for $159.45. Again, I've never personally found one of these. I thought about just buying one on the secondary market just to have an example, but there is nothing better than just finding one for your collection or to sell, because these things are worth its money. They are money. All right, so this one's cool. I mean, I've talked about this one quite often here in the last 6 months. 2,000 piece, Sacagawea $1. This is, yes, indeed, the Wounded Eagle reverse. I think it's what, FS 501, I believe. I might be wrong, but you can see the die gouges that goes here in the breast eagle area and into the wings. All right, so this coin in any grade is worth some money. Now, the caveat to this, because I'll just go ahead and say it only sold for $59. The last few examples that I would say were in much worse condition sold for about $100. So what happened to this? Well, first of all, this individual was asking $10 for shipping. That could be a huge turnoff for people. That's way too expensive for this type of item. Second of all, this seller had a feedback of 1. All right, and also something like that does scare away prospective buyers of coins like this. But $59 is $59, right? And if you don't flip the coin over, you don't know if you got a little bit of a valuable coin on your hands. All right, so this is a crazy one. This is a undated Lincoln cent that was struck on a split planchet. So, and this thing weighs out at half a gram, so it's razor thin. The 72S is there for comparison. Here's the error in question. I have no doubt it's legit. Just look at the off-center little struck piece on that really thin split planchet, and I mean, ironically, it's the designer initials that you see on the bust of a Lincoln Memorial cent or a Lincoln Wheat cent. It could be one of the two. But crazy. And good job by the seller in actual taking photography of the VDB initials. So what did this one sell for? $88.50. Don't know where you actually would find something like this, but it'll pop up somewhere, I guess, where you least expect it, like in a collection, you know? I don't know. Pretty crazy. But this thing definitely would stick out like a sore thumb. All right, so these are some beautiful nickels. We have a trio of 1945 D Jefferson Nickels. These are indeed the silver wartime compositions. So they are the silver manganese 35%ers. Really nice mid-state specimens. This was actually a quantity auction, or Dutch auction is what we used to call it back in the day, where you could go in, you could buy 1, 2, or 3. The seller sold all 3 of his examples, or her examples of this coin, because it is a repunch mint mark. And repunch mint marks are quite common on these silver wartime nickels. So if you like to search through these, make sure you look through them, because there's some pretty nice dramatic ones. This is RPM number 10, and it sold for $17.95. This person sold 3 at $17.95 each. Well, here's everybody's favorite coin to look through, presidential dollars. All right, so there's a love-hate relationship with a lot of folks and this particular series. It didn't last too well. No sir, no ma'am. It was a series that was plagued with a lot of, well, just pure, straight-up undesirableness and hate. You know, I don't want to use that word quite that strongly, but people did not like the series. You know, it just wasn't a coin that was meant to be. And that's probably why so many of them exist out there. So this one is from the first year of issue, 2007. John Adams presidential dollar. And wow, it's got the doubled edge lettering. The second doubled lettering part is inverted, so it's upside down. Yeah, good luck reading that. But yeah, John Adams presidential dollars are notorious for the doubled edge lettering. Still being hunted out there. Good luck finding really nice high-grade specimens of this. This particular coin right here sold for $32.39. So pretty good money. They're available in good numbers, you know, so it's not super rare. You could buy even a graded example. I have a Mid-State 64 myself that I paid like $22 for. But if you're looking for like an oddity, you know, it's just a shame that this was not on, say, a Washington Quarter. If it did have edge lettering, it's just, man, such a beautiful variety on one of the most undeserved of coin series. So yeah, this is a 1971 D Lincoln Memorial cent. This one right here is off-center by about 60-65%. It's got a little bit of nice color to it. Again, full date, full mint mark. So it's everything that everybody looks for of this particular error type. Sold for $36.99. And the same goes for this one, only this puppy is like gem red. And it's also from one of my favorite sellers with that red background. 1969D. I think he sold a few 69Ds, you know, and it's just a really cool date. Coin is in tremendous shape. And this one's off-center by about 60-65% as well. This one sold for $34.95. Again, look through your scrap silver, because you could probably find something like this. This is a 1922 piece dollar with a little itty-bitty clip right there. It's not even curved or anything. It's just, it took a little snip away of the rim, and same on the reverse as well. But how much are these? Like, if we're talking scrap silver wise, they're what, 28 to 30 bucks. This one sold for $48.95. So I'd say it's a pretty good return. And this is a very minor error. You know, it's marketable as a minor error, and you know, you get about 50% more money for something like this compared to its intrinsic silver value. All right, brand new coins. Guess what? We got another 2020. And what's funny is that these candy half dollars, after what, 2002 or something, these are NIFCs. So they're not intended for any circulation at all. You could only buy them through the U.S. Mint store. So this one came in probably a bag with $100 face or a roll, and it's got all sorts of weird strike-through mess on the obverse. So when you see these starbursted patterns in the fields and anywhere else, even on the portrait, these are generally struck through just a little skim of grease. And you can even see some on the reverse as well, right there. I mean, honestly, it's quite minor, but you shouldn't overlook this. This coin sold for $9. So, good pictures, by the way. I think that helped sell this coin really well. And the last piece of currency on the list is another low serial number. I believe this is from the same seller, 2013 Fed Reserve note, and this one is in really great shape. Through 21 bids, sold for $44.19. So it sold for more than the previous note by over $10, I believe. But, you know, keep an eye out for these fancy serial numbers. Even birthday notes, if oriented correctly, like month, date, and a 4-digit year, people like as well. Statehood Quarter errors. Not common at all. So an off-center struck statehood quarter can be a little bit difficult to find. What's cool is this one actually, you know what it is. It's a Georgia statehood quarter produced in Philadelphia, as you would imagine, dated 1999. Of course, you'll know it's 99 even if that was cut off. But this one's struck off-center by about 20% and through 8 bids. Wow, $46. Who would have thought that this thing would be worth $46? It even looks like it's a circulated coin as well. All right, we're down to our last few coins. So I figured we'd just save some really, really amazing coins for last. We have a 1902 Indian head cent. Still have yet to purchase my first off-center struck Indian head. I'm almost there to pushing that button, but I love looking at coins like this. This one's off-center by about maybe 10-15%, give or take. It's in pretty decent shape, although it's got this gash here right on Liberty's chin. What else can you say? It's just, you know, it's an older coin with a what I consider to be modern error on there. Sold for $89.99. And we also have an 1865 3-cent nickel. That's also about 15% off center. I mean, just cool. I mean, you don't come across stuff like this that often. So I would imagine that whatever money these sell for is going to be quite strong and powerful. This one, no exception. The seller did accept a best offer. The original asking price, by the way, was $399.99. So you could just imagine how much it would sell for. I mean, for those of you that have access to 130 point, you could check that out pretty easily. Probably 250 to 300, maybe a little bit higher. It would not surprise me if this sold for like 350. Problems aside with the carbon spotting and all that, man, just a really cool error. And of course, man, the coin that if you're not looking for these, you're really doing yourself a disservice. This is only like one of the most valuable Washington Quarter modern errors or varieties that you could find. This one is the double die offers FS101. And look at the coin condition. This thing is toast. You know, it's either been cleaned or it's like really circulated, but crazy, incredibly crazy. So you only really need to look at this image. It's from the same coin, but you could just see the splits, the notching. Wow. I mean, I own a few of these. I own a graded one and a raw one. The raw one's probably as good looking as this one. You know, like a VF grade or something. But, yeah. I mean, if you're not looking for this, it's on the 76D Bicentennial. Not the Philadelphia, but the Denver. And this coin, while I'd like to say it's like semi-rare, it's actually searchable. I've heard of people finding these in like some of the most strangest places, like a gentleman who is a truck driver. I read this, I think, in like Coin World or something a number of years back. Actually ended up buying some quarters in like Michigan, and he found one of these there. It's somewhere in the Midwest. It's crazy. But you know, his was in much nicer shape. It came back like a mid-state 63 or something. But that coin in that grade is like $1,500 to $2,000. So this one in a much lower grade, and it's, you know, kind of questionable whether or not this coin was cleaned, still managed to sell for $99. I mean, that is insane amount of money for a raw attributed DDO FS101. But there you go. Bingo bango, ladies and gentlemen. That is your pocket change market report for this week. Hopefully it gave you a little bit of inspiration to go out there and do some hunting and finding your own treasure. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Hit that bell for instant notifications if you haven't done so already. Coinaholics, we are discovering together. You guys take care. Have fun on your hunt, and I'll see you next time.